Hey, welcome back to Hometown History. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Dommy.
This is part 3 of the Mifflin House, so please check out our Facebook pages to watch part 1 and part 2. And Dommy will do an amazing job uploading it to YouTube later, so you can also watch it and share it that way. So part 1 looked at the Mifflin House and how we almost lost it to a warehouse and the protest efforts. Part 2 dove into the Mifflins and the role of the Underground Railroad. Now finally, we're going to talk about Jacob Huber, that family, and the role this house played in the Civil War. So let's dive into Jacob Huber. He was a prominent farmer. There we go. He owned a lot of nearby properties, and it was under his ownership that the property saw the Civil War battle in Wrightsville. It was on June 28th, which was the exact anniversary of when we presented at the Mifflin House last weekend. It was 162 years ago, back in 1863. There was a battle that broke out right over in Wrightsville. Unlike the residents of York who surrendered to the Confederates, there was no fighting, no negotiating with the enemy here in Wrightsville.
Yeah, so Confederate Major Jubal Early wanted to seize the covered bridge that used to span our county with Lancaster. So there were rumors that he and a bunch of Confederate soldiers were on their way to take the bridge. And John Pert and William Hess volunteered to ride through Hellam toward York to determine if the rebels were actually approaching or not. Once they saw that the rumor was in fact true, the two men galloped back, shouting the alarming news. So this was very much York County's Paul Revere's ride. The Confederates are coming, the Confederates are coming.
Locals were frightened and excited. The Confederates faced off against a mismatch of Union soldiers and civilian volunteers in the trenches. They moved cannons to elevated positions, and they lobbied shells into town and towards the trenches. Overwhelmed, the Union defenders retreated in an orderly fashion towards the bridge.
But one fighting man did not retreat, and he was a civilian, a black man, and he was killed in the trenches after laying down his entrenchment tool and picking up a rifle, and he was the only fatality of that battle. The bridge had been mined to keep the Confederates from crossing by dropping one span near the Wrightsville side in the water. Civilians lit the fuse, but the span rose up and settled back down on its piers. So, unfortunately, the bridge was just built too strongly. We couldn't blow it up ourselves.
The explosives did not work at first.
Yeah.
So we asked the audience, do you know if it was the Union or the Confederates that set the bridge on fire? Because as a kid growing up in York County, I just assumed it was the Confederates. Why would we light our own bridge on fire? Turns out I was wrong. It is very much the Union. Locals chose to make that decision. The Confederates were barely 100 yards away, and they were coming towards them. So there was this man named Mr. Crane. He was a local railroad and bridge official, and he made the brass decision to actually set it on fire. He took his torch and he touched the flames to the wooden bridge. Several shots were fired, none hit. No one was wounded, thankfully. There were yells of disappointment that came from the rebels, and they soon helped the townspeople, though, fight the fire, the Confederates that then were spreading to the town.
The Confederates also turned their attention toward a dam near the mouth of Crites Creek, south of Wrightsville, and they tried to cross, but the strong Susquehanna current that ran over top proved to be too dangerous, and their crossing would have exposed them to Union guns. And they abandoned that plan completely. So instead, they turned toward firing cannons from the York side toward Columbia, never even getting close. Luckily, they basically hit the center of the river. So thank you to the Susquehanna River for being so dangerous and so wide. Yes.
The Confederates countermarched then to York, and the next day we know they went on to Gettysburg, where they suffered heavy losses in those fights. Newspapers at the time reported that soldiers stole cream and milk from the Mifflin House cold cellar.
That was probably the first fresh food and drink that they had had in a long time.
That's true.
So Scott Mingus believes that the lawn that we were sitting on at the Mifflin House could be the site of the Confederate cannons in the Battle of Wrightsville in 1863. And if that turns out to be true, that means that the Mifflin House shares the dual importance as a documented Underground Railroad location and a Civil War battlefield. So that's huge, you guys. That's a rare occurrence. And, you know, if you're a history nerd like Jamie and I, that just like completely blows our minds. And it's also possible that the Union trenches ran right through the property, but that's yet to be determined. I know when we spoke to Pete, he said that they're going to look into getting some like underground penetrating radar. They're going to do some mapping of the lawn and the property to kind of see what might be there. So that's really exciting.
Stay tuned. It's a possibility. Jacob Huber is going to die the next year in 1864. The home stayed in the Huber family for generations. His son, Jacob Jr., inhabited, then his daughter, Anna L. Huber. Many of his family descendants used the farm as a summer retreat. How nice would that be to have a summer
summer
retreat?
house in York County on a hill.
A stone house with a barn on
breeze.
100 and some acres. They still call it Mount Habla, which we think is pretty cool.
So that leads us to the third family that owned the farm. So the third and final family to ever own the property, and they purchased it in May of 1959. And that was Anna and Harry Blessing, and they kept the farm until the end of the 1900s. Harry died back in 1978, but when Anna died in 1990, it passed to their 4 children. Donnie continued to live there until 2016, and they kept the house, but they subdivided the property for industrial development. And Donnie Blessing ended up joining the protesters to prevent the demolition of the property, which I think is really great.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about plans for the future and looking forward. In total, the Susquehanna Discovery Center and Heritage Park will encompass a total of 84 acres and the Mifflin Farm, and then another 7 acres on the riverfront. This is a phased project that's going to take a while, about 10 years. They'll start with the rehab of the Mifflin House as an underground railroad learning center, followed by the construction of the trail system, which will take another 3 to 5 years.
The stone Mifflin farmhouse will host exhibits to tell the stories of the Underground Railroad, and there's more renovations to come, but you can visit the house and the grounds currently at no cost every Saturday from 10 to 4 through the end of October.
The farm's barn will be renovated into a visitor center or discovery center. Inside, you'll be able to see river art in the museum that is on display, and not just contemporary art too. They are going to have over 400 years of art that the Susquehanna River inspired.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
So we wanted to take some time to highlight some other sites that are saved and some that are unsaved. So also in Hellam Township is the Horn Farm, a historic home and barn that was almost torn down for a Harley-Davidson expansion, but now it's a 186-acre agricultural education center that includes a lot of training classes.
We also filmed an episode there.
We did.
So we should put a link or somewhere.
I'll take care of that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dami. We also filmed an episode at the Goodridge Freedom Center. This is a major site against with the Underground Railroad as well in New York County. It includes a museum and tells a story of William C. Goodridge. He was a prominent businessman born into slavery who helped freedom seekers in the mid-1800s.
Yes. Then we have the Willis House, and this home is in Manchester Township and one of only 2 York County sites on the National Park Service's Underground Railroad network to freedom, the second being the Mifflin House. And the conductor, Samuel Willis, is known as a kindly friend Willis, and he was also Quaker.
Soon, we will have the Crispus Attucks History Center.
Yes.
It is in downtown Newark, and it will be a place to celebrate the both history and living traditions of African Americans. It's going to be 20,000 square feet, which is pretty huge, and it is set to open in 2025.
Yeah, so here are some of Preservation PA's list of saved places. I'm not going to read them all, but we filmed at the Yorktown Hotel, and that was listed in 2017. You have the Stewartstown Railroad listed in 2010, Camp Security, which we know all about, in Springettsbury Township, listed in 2000, and the Shoe House. Everyone knows the Shoe House in Hellam, and that was listed in 1994.
We wanted to highlight some areas that are still at risk. Preservation PA has the Hoke House of Spring Grove on the at-risk list, and they need more money to be able to move it or demolish it.
We filmed an episode there.
We did?
Yep.
We also want to highlight the Peter Wolf House, which Jane Watt put on the market. Did she put it on the market officially?
I believe it is officially on the market, and we filmed an episode there. So if you'd like to see and understand why this is such a historic place that is worth saving and preserving, please watch our episode.
And then finally, we've got Tom Davidson and others that are working to preserve the modern air sign, which, Dami,
we have an episode about that. I'm going to link all of these and share them on social media. So please, if you have the time, you can watch them as YouTube videos, or you can listen to us as a podcast. So, you don't have the excuse of that I'm driving, I can't watch Hometown's History. You can listen to
Spotify, right?
Yeah.
You have to like Spotify.
Well, all of the free podcast channels, so like Apple Music, Amazon Music, we're everywhere.
Please tell me you don't take the time to upload them everywhere, right?
No, there's this cool gadget that uploads them all at once.
Oh, yay! Good.
Yeah.
She's our tech-savvy marketing in-house director here.
Although, if I thought it would help, I would take the time to do it individually. But we always give you our takeaways. So number one is the Mifflin House is a historically significant and well-documented example of a Quaker Underground Railroad stop between 1800 and 1850. Number two, the Mifflin House property brings together stories of two wars that shaped America, the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Number three, preserving the Mifflin House is the latest preservation win in the lower Susquehanna region. And lastly, number four, the public is going to be able to learn about the impact of this important site and what it had on the lives of countless freedom seekers, even at the great risk of the Mifflin families and others in the area.
The Mifflin House has a few upcoming activities that we wanted to highlight. You can go and check out Cody Esch on July 17th. He is at Seminary Ridge talking more about the Civil War. We also have Barbara Brundage from the Susquehanna National Heritage Area talking on August 21st. And then Rob Evans, who is an artist and curator, amazing work that will be speaking on September 18th.
And if you're not sick of us yet, you can see Jamie and I on July 12th at the York County History Center for Civil War Days. We're going to be inside, but they're also going to have some great things outside. August 21st, waterways, pollution, and the impact on brewing. And then October 3rd will be Yorktown's First Friday.
So if you haven't watched it already and you still want Mifflin House history, go check out that extra episode that we filmed with our good friend Pete, and stay tuned for more episodes in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great night.
See ya.